I'm gonna say as a gay Australian, the fact that you have the internet's father figure, Pedro Pascal, and the one and only Mendo in this film, I'm already sort of there's already a built-in love to this, so I'll just say thank you for that, first of all.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Off the success of Captain Marvel, like I guess there'd be like that assumption that you'd go onto something sort of such more massively scaled, and like I think that being that it's Freaky Tales, which sort of feels like it has such a personal connection to Oakland and like the rap scene and things like that. Like, do you have more free reign after the success of something like Captain Marvel and getting this off the ground, and is there a different approach for you in directing this because it's such a smaller scale?
This was definitely the right time to make this movie.
Mm.
Coming after Captain Marvel, this was probably the only time we could get Freaky Tales made because it's an adventurous movie. It's unconventional and it's wild. And I think that it's not what you would. We didn't play it safe. Let's just say that we went wild with this one. And people weren't just knocking on our doors saying, "Hey, we want to make Freaky Tales." Like it was a hard movie to get financed. So I think that we used the juice we had from Captain Marvel to get this one made.
I mean, it absolutely worked, as you said. Like I went into this not knowing anything, like I try not to read too many reviews or anything. And like even though I didn't know what to expect, this movie still didn't end up being like what I had expected at all. And I should have known because like Tales is literally in the title, so I should have been like, oh, it's like a whole bunch of different stories. But I loved going into this knowing nothing and then coming out of it being like that was such a different experience. Like I love that so much. And hearing throughout it like Splash, the Bachelor Party, Money Pit, like I should have known that there was going to be some sort of, Tom Hanks connection. That scene alone, I was like, the fact that it's in a video store, he's talking about movies, I was like, that just warmed my heart as someone who like wants that experience still. But like, how was that to go? We're gonna pitch this. We're gonna see what happens. Like, was he always kind of who you envisioned? Like those references were already in the film, or did they sort of come about more so because you're like, we got him for this scene?
We had all of those references in the movie, and then we wrote him in as being a cameo along with a lot of other Oakland cameos in we imagined there being like a bunch of Oakland cameos in the musical sequence at the end,
Mm,
and him one of them. And then we gave him the script because we met him having made Masters of the Air, which is a television series that he was a producer on with his producing partner Gary Getzman. And he said, "Yeah, I'll do it." And we said, "Oh, okay, cool." And then we thought, well, if we're gonna get him to like fly up to Oakland for half a day, like let's have him do something besides like dance through our set. Like, let's have him really do something. And so we wrote this scene specifically for him. And yeah, and so we didn't write it until we knew we had him. But we did have all those references to him prior to that. And just hoping that he would kind of show up somehow in the movie. And we ended up just like trying to pepper in as many kind of Oakland cameos and East Bay cameos as we could. And we didn't end up doing it in the musical sequence. We kind of ended up doing it throughout the film in various places. Like we have Marshawn Lynch
mm.
as the bus driver, and we have Tim Armstrong as, the Cytopics actual client, and various little kind of Easter eggs for those people in the know. And if you don't get it, it's fine. You'll still enjoy the movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, just mention like hearing all of that, just go, it's incredible how like cohesive the film feels, even though it's these sort of individual stories, but then they're all like tied together. But like, I guess when you're directing it, like, are you thinking of cohesion in any sort of way, or is it because it's like it's your story, you know how it's going to end up that dealing with all of those different genres, like it doesn't feel like a challenge at all, because like the fact that it sort of goes from, comedy and supernaturalism, and then like, Pedro's story is quite like emotional. Like, do you sort of have to, yeah, like is cohesion something that you're thinking of, or like intentionally sort of, or is it like case of like we know where this story goes, it'll map itself out in the end?
For me, it's the second. For me, it was always very organic. Like this
Mm.
is it. It's a feeling, right? It's like one foot in reality and one foot in some other dimension, and that was sort of how the whole movie was going to feel. Um, I don't know if Anna would answer that question differently because you approach things, your mind works in a different way. But
No, I think that, we we thought we think of it a little bit like a cinematic mixtape.
Mm.
So it is all one thing, but it's like it's a little bit of a mixtape. And so it's like using different formats, and it's using different different, like different pieces of music from different movies, and using different kind of pieces of music from different genres, but like we kind of never thought that like it wouldn't feel like a really good mixtape at the very end that's like really satisfying to like put in and listen to the whole thing all the way through.
I'm gonna say, yeah, cinematic mixtape is couldn't be any more of a perfect summation of this film. So I just, yeah, again, I going into this knowing nothing, I love that such original cinema like still exists in this time. That just made me super, super happy, and I just hope everyone gets out there and supports this film, because it's so joyous to see like just, yeah, true originality and just love on screen. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And you know
thank
what
you.
I want to tell you? Because I feel like you'll be really happy to know this. Pedro and Ben were so excited to work together. Like they were so excited to work together that they were trying to get us to write more scenes with them together. And we were like, we don't have time. Like your schedules like barely align as it is. We can't write anything more with you in it. What are you doing? But they just loved working together so much. So
I
That's
mean,
great.
yeah, I understand. I understand both ends of that. So that's awesome. No, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day there. Cheers.
Thank
okay.
you. You too. Take care.
Thank you. Cheers. Like, not seeing trailers, not reading too many reviews, if any. And like I didn't know I didn't really know what to expect with Freaky Tales, but I probably should have known with Tales in the title, like that it was going to give me like this sort of, chapters. It still wasn't what I expected. So I love that. And for you, like when you're reading this script, like what's your, I guess, first reaction to just what's unfolding? And are you privy to like the other tales and chapters as well, or do you just get your specific pages?
I got the full script,
Yep.
and I think everyone got the full script. And I remember reading it and thinking it was incredibly original. I didn't necessarily understand everything that was happening in it, but I loved the message of the film. I thought it was so weird and interesting, and I loved that it was really all about standing up against Nazis. And I thought Tina as a character was so cool.
Mm.
So it was just a big yes for me. There was no reason to say no.
Because we're like the 1980s aesthetic sort of gives the film like an immediate personality of what that time period can give. But like, did you have a good sense of Tina already, or was there like a part of her that like presented herself to you more so when you got to see like her costume and the flourishes that she wears, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I mean on the page, I remember thinking that Tina was way too cool and that I would never be able to play her because she was so cool. And then when I got the part, I was like, oh no, how do I sell this? And luckily, the hair and makeup and the costume teams, they were all so incredible. And I think when you're able to step into a physical look, that is such a big departure from how I normally appear in real life, it's a lot easier to jump into a role like this. And that coupled with learning an Oakland dialect, it really felt like just jumping and flipping into a whole different person. And I really, pretty much all of it was just like a leap of faith that I had done the prep, I had done the work, I had the look, and I just had to commit.
As you spoke, just mentioned there about like the Oakland dialect, is that a, I guess, how much of like a research process is that? Are you sort of like, is that one of those things where you just go, that's like an extra thing that I'm now taking on that I really don't want to screw this up because I'm taking on like such a specific thing that like it's probably very subtle to, like a lot of us, but like, yeah, like, is that something that you specifically took on, or was that just something that they kind of expected when the character was there?
Ryan, who is one of our directors who's from Oakland,
Yeah.
he asked me to learn it. So I'm never gonna say no. Directors usually say jump and I say how high. And I met with a dialect coach. Unfortunately, because I was coming off of another movie, I had very, very little time to prepare,
Hmm.
which is not how I would love to go into a normal dialect situation. I had one hour session with the dialect coach the day before I started work.
Wow.
Um, so every morning I normally listen to music and a playlist that I've made for the character. Every morning on the way to this job, I would listen to an interview of Ryan Coogler, who is from Oakland. And it was a director's roundtable where he's talking about filmmaking and stepping into being a filmmaker as a career. And he says this one phrase, what you don't know, you're afraid of. And the rhythm that he said it at and the vowels and everything about it was so perfect. I would say it constantly in my head over and over and over. And then I just would never break the accent on set because I was terrified that if I ever stopped, it was just not going to come back and I wouldn't know how to find it again. So it was definitely something that I wanted to do once presented, but absolutely I felt a really, really deep sense of responsibility. This is such a love letter to Ryan's hometown.
Hmm.
And I Oakland is such a beautiful, multicultural place. I really wanted to get it right. And for Tina's story, because she speaks Korean primarily at home,
Hmm.
we wanted her English to reflect her hometown, Oakland.
Yeah.
I really wanted to get it right.
No, that's awesome. I love hearing that sort of just it's like it I guess it brings about just this added layer of just how much goes into films and characters and things that I guess sort of some people like take for granted, and it just then adds this whole other layer of like we're watching something so incredibly special on screen, and like hearing things like that just make it so like rewarding as someone who loves film and hearing out all that sort of stuff. So that's awesome. But as you said that you were like listening to music to get into the character, like what is there one song that you sort of think represents Tina as a character?
A few people have asked me this question. It's hard to say. I mean, I've been telling people probably Bad Town by Operation Ivy because that's such an iconic song from that time period. Operation Ivy and their album was so influential in the punk scene and into the development of what we know as modern day punk.
Mm.
But I what else did I have on there? I had like Black Flag stuff on there. She has a secret Black Flag tattoo that was like on the back behind my ear that we just never caught on camera, but it was there every day on set. So maybe like a Black Flag song. Um, I don't know, or like a Jello Biafra thing. It'd be hard to say. But there's a very fun, high energy playlist on my phone that's got a lot of songs that are very Tina and very, very punk.
Well, it all came together well because yeah, I think as soon as she was introduced and was sort of talking about like the Lost Boys, I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like, I like this character. So no, but thank you so much for taking the time out and for talking about this like just bombastically original film. It's so awesome to have films like this out there in the world. So again, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. It was great talking to you.
Cheers.